Okay, bumper away.
Hey, this is Michael O'Neill from the Solopreneur Hour podcast, and you are listening to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith. Listen up.
Woo! That was awesome. Thank you.
Cool, man.
Cool, man.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Daniel Hayes. Thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer, and welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so you are going to the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro.
Yes, sir. Getting gold is the plan.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about what that's like. What's going on in your world? You told me that you got punched a little bit too hard in the nose, and you're kind of recovering from that?
Yeah, no, that was just a little sparring session today.
Right.
It comes with it, you know.
Yeah,
but
part of the deal, I guess.
Yeah, it's right now I'm dealing with a little bit of a labrum issue.
Right.
So it's just really I'm learning to fight with one hand, if that makes any sense.
No, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, but you know what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Amen. Wow. So what's the training schedule like? Just to get ready for summer? Is it getting crazy?
Yeah, my biggest thing is I've learned the hard way is to save myself from myself, if that makes any sense. Just because
explain.
I'm so hyperactive and I'm so meticulous in my training and just pushing myself to the brink that for the first time in dealing with this injury, you're forced to take a step back and really evaluate. So for me, it's really been learning to taper up and taper down.
Turn it off almost.
Yeah, you could burn out so quickly. Yeah. Not only physically, anybody could burn out physically, but mentally, especially when you're going to the brink every single day. So for me, it's really just been learning my body, to be honest with you. And it's just been a whole process this past few months.
I am talking to Daniel Hayes of daniel-hayes.com. Now back to the show. Okay, so that's what you got going on now, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But let's go back in time and talk about the Daniel Hayes origin story.
Okay, cool. It sounds like a video game almost.
No, it's like you're a superhero, right?
Yeah, I like it. Wow.
Because you are kind of a superhero. Well, everybody's a superhero on my show, but you're an Olympian, so you get extra credit.
Nice.
Yeah. So what were you like in high school? Were you a nerdy athletic geek?
Actually, yeah, that's funny. No, my grades would not at all reflect nerd.
Okay.
I made it on the honor roll one semester.
Wow.
And that was only because I was taking phys ed, and the basketball coach was for two of my classes. He was the teacher as well.
Okay.
So you can understand.
Yeah, that helped. Right.
There, right? But that was the only semester I made it on the honor roll. After that and before that, it was absolute nonsense. As a teenager, oh my God. Okay, so in high school, I would say I was really sort of not a loner. I was super social, but I was always in the gym. I was always
you had to move to think.
Yeah, and any
that
free
kinesthetic kind of thinker.
Yeah, and any free time I had, I was always in the weight room. I would always be either on the basketball court, running, you name it. I was always really in the gym in the facility, right?
Right.
After school, I would have 2 to 3 different practices. So I didn't really have that much of a social life in high school.
No,
and I only realized I missed out on that until I got to college. And then when you're with your teammates and you guys are sharing stories from high school, I didn't have any cool stories to share about house parties.
You were too busy.
Yeah, and I just really I didn't really relish that moment as much as a teenager. I was just so immersed in sports and athletics, right?
Okay.
But I think as a, in junior high, I was a terror. Even as a teenager, my mom needs some sort of award just for
right.
being able to tolerate me, because I don't know why as a teenager I had such a chip on my shoulder. I was edgy. I was angry all the time. I don't know what the heck my problem was. And in junior high, I used to, I was bullied and I was a bully as well. So I was on both ends of the spectrum.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it was, man, my mom, I give her I still apologize to today, you know, for her tolerating me.
Let me ask you this: were you bullied first, or were you a bully first? I would imagine you were bullied first.
Yeah, I was.
And then you, once you got big enough and / strong enough, you got some payback on some poor defenseless kids.
Unfortunately, though, that was meant to be on the guy that bullied me, but he had graduated.
I know.
So
but the same thing happened to me, because my brother and I had that. He was 3 years older than me, and we've gotten over this now. We've talked about it, right? And he was like, if you want me to say sorry for all that bullshit from when we were kids, I was like, no, we were kids, whatever. But in it, I was being tortured. That's what my little kid brain was thinking,
Yeah. So
he was bullying me.
Let me tell you, my cousins, right?
Yeah.
So I had an older sister. She was super mature, bookworm, that sort of thing. She used to bully me, beat me up, whatever. But I was super small. But you want to talk about siblings sort of bullying. My cousins, there'd be like 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of them. I have a huge family. And it was WWF at the time.
I remember WWF, yeah.
And they used to, because I was the smallest one, they used to practice. So let's say it was Razor Ramon at the time.
Okay.
They would practice all the wrestling moves that on me, right? And they would set it up where they would put the mattress and they would take it off the bed and they would jump off the bed and they emulate the whole thing. And I'm there just getting my ass kicked.
You're getting pummeled.
Yeah. And years later, I still hold that animosity. Like, even when I see them, because I don't see them often, I'm just like, hey, I got a few bones to pick with you. That's what I'm saying in my head.
It's
right?
still there.
100%. Or just I want to get involved in some sort of competitive physical element where I kind of channel that aggression towards them.
Yeah. I actually had a physical altercation with my brother. So, yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't go that far. It was more like wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. But then after that, we were both kind of like, this is silly.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because usually kids, at least me or my surroundings as kids or teenagers, aren't that mature enough to think.
No. This was when we were growing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, This was years later.
Okay.
I was probably, after 30,
Okay.
And but we're over it now. I'm an old dude, so
Well, that's good. That's good that you guys got through that, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The one thing I always found this amusing with kids is how, so with my sister or just even amongst cousins, whatever, they can beat the crap out of me. Like, they could beat me to a pulp. But the second somebody else touches you or just lays a hand on you, it's like, no. I could only beat him up like that. Not you can.
It was true. That's true. My brother was very protective of me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. Yeah. He had the same rule. Only I can kick his ass.
That's funny.
But I also noticed later on that there was like, after graduation and I was still relatively young in the Air Force, I found myself, doing bully behavior myself.
Really?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Not a lot, but, enough to feel it and go, feel icky.
Oh, wow.
After? Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you, in the military, is there hazing?
I'm sure there is. every service is different.
Okay.
So I was in the Air Force, and I was also for most of my career, I was in very nerdy signals intelligence world.
Okay.
So they were geeks inside of a service full of geeks.
Okay.
And, now, when I worked with aircraft maintenance types,
Okay.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it hazing, but they had their sort of like rituals.
Yeah.
They were a lot more fun than the negative kind of hazing that you hear about. I never saw. I'm sure it's there and it exists. I just never saw it. I'll give you an example of when I got to Tyndall Air Force Base. They had this game, ritual.
Okay.
Where they would throw the new guy into the water at the beach with all of his clothes on. When he first joined the office, sometime soon after, right?
Okay.
And I kind of had like a couple of months to prepare for this because I knew it was coming.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, right? So I saw one guy who was kind of an older dude.
Yeah.
And Air Force relative, older dude, older than me. And he was just like, okay, you want to throw me in? Just let me take my glasses off. He calmly walked into the water, got wet, and they calmly walked out. And we all went, boo. And it was really boring, right?
Yeah.
But ritual over. I was like, yeah, that was really dull.
Oh, man.
So when I knew it was my week, my turn, my month, whatever.
Yeah.
I had an extra can of Coke, and I hung out next to a beam in the pavilion on the beach.
Okay.
And I grabbed on really tight, and I just waited for it to come. And then it came, and I cracked open the Coke after shaking it, and I sprayed everybody with the Coke. and I clung to life like a honey badger to that beam, and it took a great amount of effort and lots of punching and fighting to get me into the water. It was awesome.
That is funny.
Right? You want to make it fun.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so cool. Some of those stories are the best ones. You just wish you videotaped it because I would pay to watch that.
It was a blast. And we were all laughing, and it was awesome. And it took like really big dudes to get me into the water too.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah. I put up a fight.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move off of the little kid, Daniel. And so what were your college days like? Did you go to college?
Yeah. So I went to college, and what's funny, my freshman year, speaking of hazing and all that.
Right.
That was really a self-discovery time for me where, like I was mentioning in high school and as a teenager, I was super edgy and serious, ultra competitive. And in college, for me, that really, I'm sure with a lot of people, it just changes your life, right? And I'm a huge advocate of going away for school because I believe, and this is just my opinion, I'm sure parents wouldn't appreciate this, but that's really where you truly find yourself, right? And where you're drawn away from all your social norms at home, or I think sometimes people are boxed into like even an identity that they don't necessarily feel, and so I think when you go to college, it's almost like a fresh start, right? For me, luckily, I had, number one, I went there with two teammates. We were kind of like a package deal.
Oh, okay.
And, but we still went through that journey together. You have your teammates. So for me, college, in my freshman year, again, I had the same stupid tendencies as I did in high school, where guys would be going out like after the season, to the club on Friday or Saturday, playing beer pong. And I'm in a sauna suit running a hill just because, and
right.
I really, don't get me wrong, I had the most fun my freshman year, but I really, if I could go back, I really wish if I kind of seized and relished more in just those moments as opposed to training, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, then as I look back at it, I know that sculpted me, and that also was a stepping stone for having the work ethic that I have now. I just wish it didn't come at a cost, because really, college, you only have 4 years.
Right.
So those 4 years, you got to pack in as much as you can, And yeah, I really wish that I seized that opportunity.
Did you lighten up a little bit as you went forward?
Oh my God. Yeah, I was forced to. I remember, and that's the best thing about it. Like my freshman year, especially being on the team where you're constantly around your teammates. And at first, the first month of training camp, these guys were like, this guy's a dick. And
Sure.
he's so serious. He's cussing people out, this and that. And it was, they kind of wore on me, right? And they're just so friendly and nice. And obviously, you have your upperclassmen where they're going to put you in your place regardless, right?
Right.
Luckily, in that year, there were more freshmen than there were seniors, and the freshmen were bigger than the seniors.
Wow.
Right? So there was kind of like this
you were
weird,
kind of like weird ruling the roost too young.
Yeah. So
okay.
It was a different dynamic, but I totally found myself, as far as, just being able to relax and laugh, have a good time, enjoy the moment. For me, that's really what I learned in my freshman year. And I remember going back in the summertime, and people would see me and they would talk to me. They're like, wow, you're so different now. Like, I didn't know you
up a little bit. Yeah.
I didn't know you smiled. I didn't know you laughed. And it's just, man.
So they finally got you to go out and have a beer on occasion?
You know what's funny? I can drink a bottle of tequila. Easy. Not easy, but I could get that done.
Wow.
I'll have 2 beers and oh my gosh, I'm a mess.
It's the carbs, man.
I don't know what
it's
it
the
is.
Carbs. Some people have weird reactions to hops too.
Yeah. And so I remember when
I've heard that before, though, that people can drink like forever hard liquor or whatever. And then they have 1 or 2 beers and it maybe not makes them drunk, but makes them sick.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of reaction do you get? Yeah.
So I remember when we played beer pong, people hated playing on my team because I wouldn't play with beer. I'd be like, okay, you know what? Put some tequila or vodka, whatever it is, and then fill it up with water. Right. And then, so we're drinking hard liquor for.
Right.
So that's like
you could
shot.
handle that.
And I'd be totally fine with that. If it was beer, oh my gosh. No,
so what was the feeling that you got from beer? Just drunk? Passed out?
Yeah, I'm a sloppy drunk too. It's not even.
It's not even funny. Right.
Yeah. Right. And the thing is, like, we're talking blackout type of.
Yeah, you weren't the loud happy guy.
Yeah, it was just weird. That's a weird drunk for me. Is the and I'd feel my stomach. I just guess my body doesn't break it down too effectively.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That
so it is definitely a learning curve.
Your metabolism doesn't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Wow. So you finally chill out and you enjoy college. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how you start in. Now, you were an MMA fighter. Are you still an MMA fighter, or have you retired from that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I still definitely train in both. Right now, I haven't
focused on your boxing thing.
Yeah. Right. So actually how that whole thing happened is when I finished college, to go back to the Daniel Hayes story.
Yes, the Daniel Hayes Vroom Vroom Veer origin story. Yes.
Origin story. That's the key word, the origin story.
Right.
So to go back to that, when I finished college, I had so much in the tank, meaning just as an athlete, I felt I haven't even peaked yet, right?
Okay.
And I just had that burning desire in me, and I was like, I need to compete. Like, and this is the first time
in my life. And your main sport in college was basketball?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just needed to compete. And it was my first time where I didn't have a sport or a platform to do that. So I picked up mixed martial arts, and I studied a variety of different martial arts. And so with mixed martial arts, you fuse all of them together, right?
Yeah. Where did you start? Which martial art did you start with?
So boxing was the first one.
Okay.
So American boxing. And I had done that in the off season to cross train, right?
Okay.
But never at that sort of level. Mm-hmm. My next one was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, like the Gracie style?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, a buddy of mine does Gracie. So that's about the only exposure that I have to MMA world.
Okay.
Listen to him talk about his training and, Henner this and this guy that. And I'm like, who are these people?
That's funny. Well, actually, Anderson Silva, he's a super popular, he's a legend in Brazil. His gym is actually out in Torrance. Funny enough.
Okay.
That's where he's based. Yeah.
Cool.
But so what I did is, I had boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I picked up a few like judo, hapkido, karate. Like I picked up a few different martial arts just to get a better grasp of everything.
Right.
And it was only after a loss in mixed martial arts that my uncle, he was always supportive of my athletic career, him being a former athlete. And he said, why don't you just focus on boxing, just one sport, right?
Okay.
And from there, that's pretty much where we are now as far as, with boxing and how life has taken off after college. And another thing I do is track cycling. So I track cycle actually in Carson at the Olympic Training Center.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So I've kind of learned from how I felt after college, where I didn't have anything to compete in. And with boxers or just any professional athletes, a lot of time this is where you hear these guys go crazy after their professional career is done.
Yeah,
because
they need an outlet, right?
Yes. And for me, luckily learning from that at a young age when I finished college, well, not so young, but when I finished college, I figured that out. I was like, okay, you know what? I need an out for when I'm done boxing. So for me, it's going to be cycling. And funny enough, the guy that won the California State Championships in the Masters division, that's, I believe, over plus 40 or 45, was 72 years old.
Holy
So
cow.
I'm looking forward to, at least I'll have that release or something to work towards.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's a major key for me is having something to work towards. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
I have a bike and I've cycled. So
Nice.
I have a fitness style bike, which is kind of like, you know what I'm talking about?
no, tell me about it.
Well, okay. So you've got your bike and it's like probably the really light, whatever that alloy is, right? Yeah. That's super expensive, really cool speed bike, right?
Yeah.
Well, mine is, it's a giant FCR3. So it looks like a sit-up bike, right? With everything that kind of looks like a mountain bike without all the mountainy stuff. You know? Yeah, it's kind of like what they call a commuter bike. It's a bike that you might ride to work.
Okay, I'm sure I've seen these tons of.
Yeah, they retail for like $500. That was, I when I got into cycling, I kind of wanted to dip a toe in. I didn't want to go, 5,000, 6,000.
It's crazy how much some of these bikes cost.
I know.
It's like more than a car.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, I caught myself. Like, I got into riding a lot when I was, I had a lot of time on my hands after I quit a job and I was going to school full time. The school full time wasn't a whole lot. So I had like lots of hours in the day, and my neighbor had a bike too. So we were riding all the time, like, down the Strand, and we would start at Redondo and then go to like Venice,
Oh, that's awesome.
and back. And
wow.
One day I rode my bike all the way from where I am in Torrance, which isn't really Torrance. It's more like Carson, right by the 110.
Oh, so you're super close to the stadium then.
Right, yeah. I'm like in West Carson, right.
Okay.
So I rode my bike all the way to Redondo, took a little break, and then just kept going. And I got all the way to Santa Monica Pier.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, that was 25 miles, and I got to go back.
Oh, yeah. That's always the feeling. Yeah.
It was, and then I had to go to school that night too, which is a really bad plan.
So I know that feeling. So two things on when I get that feeling. One is I recently did the Hollywood Half Marathon, right?
Right. Oh, wow.
And so that's a looping marathon where, you pretty much you do a loop, right? And I remember getting to the halfway point. And for me, I didn't train for it. I like to do this as like a mental test where I know my body, I'm going to have to push through it. And it's just a mental thing where I don't have that assurance of, you know what, I've been there before, right? So I like to just go through those.
Stretch yourself.
Yeah. And I remember getting to the halfway point and I was like, oh my God, I got to go another half, like literally. And the thing is, if you quit, you still got to go back that same distance.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I'm like, I might as well keep running.
Right.
And then another time where that happens on a daily occurrence is when I'm doing hot yoga. So I kind of do that just to, I am very.
I love yoga. I've never done hot yoga, but I love yoga.
Okay, I'm the least flexible person you'll probably ever talk to. So
That's okay. No, it's not so much about flexibility, tell you.
Okay. So hot yoga for me is so bad, right? And I remember when we do our right side of our body and I'm exhausted and it's so discomforting for me. And then when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh my God, that means we're gonna have to do this on the left side too. Oh, you want to talk
Everybody
about
that's ever done yoga is thinking that same thing. The longer the sequence on one side, the more that is building up like, oh my God. Yeah. And then when you get to the other side, it's so much easier, right? Have you ever found that?
No. It's just like when I get in there, worse. It just gets harder and harder and harder. And especially when you end with Shavasana, that's like just the icing on the cake because I'm exhausted. And now you're going to tell me to sit here, a guy that has ADD, and not do anything. And it's hot, right? Yeah. So I love the heat, but oh, man, that kicks my butt.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Josh Waitskins?
No.
So there's this there's a martial arts form, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's the fighting form of Tai Chi.
Interesting.
Right. There's a fighting form, and it's really big somewhere overseas, like Thailand or the Philippines or something. But anyway, he was like, he should have been like the best in the world, but because of the country and him being a foreigner, they basically cheated him on the championship. Oh. But you should listen to his podcast with Tim Ferriss. Yeah. Because he is a world-class athlete like yourself. Yeah. And he was a master in chess beforehand.
Really?
Yeah. So he was a child chess master. And he kind of like got to the point where he was like, meh, chess. And then, right. And then he moved on to this Tai Chi thing, right? And he goes into depth in his book. So you would really enjoy his book because
I'm going to check that out.
He talks a lot about learning how to turn it on. Yeah. And learning how to turn it off. See, so you're having a hard time turning it off.
yeah, 100%.
Right?
And sorry, in going to the D. Hayes origin story, in grade 6, a lot of people wouldn't believe this. I was a member of the chess club.
Oh, really?
And you're probably saying, well, no wonder you got picked on. but yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I had this is why. So I had a friend, and he used to help me with my homework. Well, let me not lie here. He used to do my homework for me.
Good for you.
And he would go to chess
beat him up.
No, I wouldn't beat him up. No. I wouldn't beat him up. I used to get beat up. Right?
I understand. Yeah.
And he would go to chess club, and then he would just be like, we would have lunch together, and sometimes he would do my homework during lunch period. And I remember he got me going to the chess club, and I think I did 3 or 4 tournaments. Yeah. The chess, that was my only chess experience ever. I think I played one time in the past maybe 10 years, and that was on an airplane where the entertainment part wasn't working, so you could play the game. Mm-hmm. But it's funny, a lot of top flight fighters, they definitely play chess. Interesting.
Are you good at it? Do you like it?
I would not at all be able to compare to those guys.
No,
and like I was saying,
do you enjoy it though? You haven't played in 10 years, so probably not.
At least. And the thing is, I'm so competitive now, and I'm so fast paced. I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe my next trip to New York, I might step out of the comfort zone. I think what is it in Central Park where they have all those for speed chess?
Yeah.
You'd
like that. You'd like that because it's super competitive.
Yeah,
and fast.
Sure, I'll get my ass kicked, but
it'd be a challenge.
Yeah. I like to do stuff like that.
For a brain challenge. Let's talk a little bit about how you did Second City and Groundlings, because I'm a big fan of The Nerdist. And, what's his name? Chris Hardwick. And I think him and a lot of his buddies were in Groundlings. So did you actually attend Groundlings?
Of course, yeah. I graduated multiple levels.
Wow.
And so how I got into that is, so in college, back to college, is in my freshman year, I was supposed to select a course. Long story short, I ended up having to take a theater course. I'm in there. I'm like, look at these theater nerds. They're looking at me. They're like, look at this stupid jock.
And we're all labeled now. Yes. Yeah, right.
And from there is kind of where I got the acting bug.
Okay.
So after taking that course, I got the acting bug. And I remember it was my teacher had suggested, professor had suggested, hey, have you ever thought about taking improv? Because you do improv as one thing, like one form, but it doesn't nearly compare to like what Second City or UCB or Groundlings does, right? It's more in depth. So I said, yeah, sure. You know what? I think I will try it. So I just threw myself into the fire. So I started off at Second City, and I loved it because, especially for the first two levels, not the first two, like the first level, you're really just playing drinking games because it's just, you have to be so quick on your feet, right? You have to be so quick. So I love that because that was giving me ammunition, to be real with you. That was giving me ammunition. So going into my next year at school, I have all these games in which I've been mastering, right? And now I can play this in
now you're really good at beer pong.
Exactly. Well, not beer pong, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
At King's Cup, for example.
I don't know.
So that's pretty much how I started the Second City, and just me being me, I continued to progress. So I went through level A through E, and then I got accepted into the conservatory level, and from there it was just an expansion where I was like, you know what? After Second City, okay, what else is out there? And then I saw the Groundlings, and I know Will Ferrell is one of the most famous graduates of there.
Right.
So I went there, I auditioned for the class, I got in, I graduated, I took the next level, I graduated. And my favorite one out of all the improv that I've taken actually has been UCB.
Okay.
That's not as popular as,
I've heard of UCB too. So
yeah.
What does UCB stand for?
Upright Citizens Brigade.
Oh, man, that used to be a TV show.
Right? Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
I think so.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
UCB,
and they make me read a whole book.
Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah,
that was a Comedy Central show, like back when Comedy Central was a thing.
Oh, my gosh.
I think so.
Wow, that's so bad. I should know that.
Maybe. I don't, I just remember hearing that in the nether reaches of my mind, the Upright Citizens Brigade. It kind of, makes me think of the folks that were in like The State and The Kids in the Hall, all that group of, that time frame. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what all these pictures are from when you go into the theater. Okay. Makes sense. Fair enough.
Well, no, I've been listening to Nerdist forever.
Okay.
And they talk about UCB all the time. And I was like, what the hell's UCB?
Hey, you should check out a show. There's because you're not too far. They just opened up a new theater on Sunset. This was like last year.
Yeah.
So there's tons of shows in Hollywood here too. And if you're ever in New York, they got in New York.
Oh, okay. And they do classes too, right?
Yeah, classes. And it's easy if cheap date. It's like $5 a show,
right?
Or just whatever if you're just hanging out with some friends. Yeah.
So is that all kind of like training to do sketch mostly?
Yeah. So the first couple levels with any of those schools, the first couple levels is actually acquiring the skills of improv, like being able to think on the fly.
Ending, everybody. Yes,
exactly.
Yes, mm-hmm.
And just being able to build a scene, right? It's when you get to the higher levels where it's called like a troupe, your improv troupe, where you kind of learn to more sculpt it to be a sketch comedy, and everyone has their different identities on how they do that, right?
Okay.
But I would say the most defiant out of those ones, just in my experience, would be Second City. And Second City, next would be Groundlings. UCB, I would say, is just across the board. It's just great across the board.
Wow. Okay. So did you ever use that in any sort of work capacity?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like anybody that's getting into acting, I also act as well.
Right,
And
right.
anybody that's getting into acting, I always recommend it because, or just even in social settings, just anything, because you learn to think on the fly. That's just like a muscle, right? Or you learn to formulate a thought, whatever it is, right? Or just being able to adapt. So I definitely have used that when I've been thrown in an audition room, or a lot of times, you know, when you're recording on set or when they're filming on set, you can't cut. Like they hate that. So it's the director that has to say cut. So even if your partner or the other actors in the scene,
you just have to keep going.
You have to keep going. So it's just being able to adapt. So sometimes some of the best scenes were just, oh man, I totally forgot my lines, but we just improv that, you know?
Yeah.
And it just turns out great.
That actually, you know, you made me think of another story from my life. So I screwed up on stage when I was a junior, right? It was like the opening scene, and we're doing the opening singing number in a musical.
Ooh, musicals.
Right. I know. Scary. Right. So here I am, and I'm singing this song, and the very end, I don't know what I did, but I screwed up, right? Nobody in the house knew we screwed up.
Really?
Nobody. I did. And maybe one or two other people on the stage, right?
Okay.
And before the audience had a moment to clap, I go, clap, 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 we screwed up.
No.
I know. It's like the worst sin ever, right?
Oh.
I know. Because nobody knew, right? But it was like opening.
What was the backlash when that happened?
Oh, I was nearly slaughtered, right? But it was opening night, and it was the very first scene. And we had 3 shows to do, right? I had to get through that night and 2 more shows. So they couldn't eviscerate me. They couldn't fire me. They had nowhere to go. But basically what they said was, you just have to play it off. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, and then they explained it to me. It was like, nobody knew you screwed up.
Yeah.
They're not paying that much attention. You know, they don't know what the next word is going to be. That's part of acting is when you flub, you just keep going and with a smile on your face, like nothing happened. Even though you're pissing your pants on the inside.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's one of the toughest ones too, that I found sometimes is just in being in the moment or achieving that as far as on camera.
Yeah.
And the thing is because I'm so meticulous in my approach with everything. So I want to make sure I get every word, or I want to make sure I got that line, or it was perfect, right?
Right.
And one of the humps that I had to get over is even sometimes, of course you could ad-lib it, but even let's say you mispronounce a word or you fumble it a little bit,
right?
I would then stop.
You're rolling your eyes, you're like poofing, right?
Yeah, so a big thing that I was been lucky I've overcame is I just keep going, or I just repeat what I said and just keep going.
Right. You just keep going. You know, and I think that served you out in the world too. Because it does, because a lot of times, you know, we're all putting on this show in the world, right?
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes, you know, things don't go your way, right? And if you make a big deal of it, everybody's going to know. Yeah. But if you just keep going and you flow with it, right? You know, that's what you're learning. You know,
I think you said it exactly right there. Is flow is just being able to adapt and just flow.
Just whoops, you know, just whoops.
Yeah.
And okay, I meant to do that. You know, to think like a cat.
Cats. Oh my gosh. Oh man.
You'll never catch a cat going, you know, rolling his eyes, going, "Oh, I'm so stupid." You know.
Yeah. No, that's
they just shake it off and walk cool.
Yeah. No, a calm, cool, collected. My thing is, I would sometimes dwell on the negative thing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and I've learned just even being a perfectionist or whatever, I think we all are guilty of that at one point or the other, but it's just not getting too high, not getting too low, and just flowing with it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You know, I have to talk to you about, so how much time have you spent in front of like live audiences? No. So do you consider like your sporting events, does that give you like a performance rush?
Yes, 100%. It just adds a different element, right?
Right.
Because I would say if it's performing for acting, obviously I've performed in front of audiences before.
Right.
It's scripted. So, or even if it's improv, it's not that element of somebody's going to hurt you, or you can get embarrassed, right?
Right.
Then when you have it for sport, it's a little different. Like in football or basketball or whatever, you kind of have your teammates and you get a little bit of a warm-up period even in the game, you know?
Right.
As opposed to fighting, if that's in front of a crowd as well too, number one, you don't want to get embarrassed. Right. Number two, you're innately wired for freeze, fight, or flight. Right? So you're tapping into that adrenaline component.
Yeah.
So regardless whether it's in front of people, it's really you're more concerned about the other person, to be honest with you.
Right.
Or at least, you know what? Let me take that back. Anybody at a subpar to anywhere to a high level would be concerned more about their opponent, right? I've seen some guys, they're I don't know what the heck. Like, hey man, if you're not looking at this, that guy's going to punch you in the face.
Right,
you know?
right. So yeah, it's
really
interesting because part of your brain knows you're in front of people.
Yeah,
but that can't be what you're thinking about.
100 because you'll get knocked into it real quick.
As soon as you notice that girl over there checking you out, you're gonna have your teeth knocked out.
yeah. So it's definitely a very quick reminder.
Right. Yeah, because way back when I was I did a couple of plays in high school and a play in college. So I went through that acting bug phase too.
Nice.
And I know that whatever sort of screwed up wiring that we all get when I was kids, part of my screwed up wiring was this sort of like public fearlessness. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's definitely a blessing / curse. Just like
let's talk about the curse.
So the curse is the downside would be, first off, the performance thing feels like a drug.
Oh yeah.
The performance
100%.
high.
Yeah.
So I went through this whole learning thing about whenever I was at a party, I wanted to be, hey, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then that can lead you to, put on some performances that no one is paying you for,
Yeah.
Here's Jeff as loud drunk guy again. That's the curse part, right?
Okay.
Just feeling that, and that's there because of, I didn't put it there on purpose. It was, so many factors and childhood and birth order and who cares, right? Just screwed up childhood wiring, but it's still there. I've just learned to dial it down,
Okay.
For, it's okay to let that out in the appropriate setting.
Yeah.
You can't leave it on 10 all the time or you're an asshole.
Yeah. I'm in LA. You walk down the street, you can find a lot of them.
You're right. But I remember when I was at my first base in Japan. I think I was like 18, 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And they had this base talent show. And I did two categories. I did stand-up comedy and MC, Master of Ceremonies, just the guy that introduced the acts, right?
Yeah.
And I got such a rush.
Yeah, I can imagine the stand-up part.
Oh, well, the stand-up part was harder for me. I think I did better at MC.
Okay.
Just because the stand-up was, written. And that, and it was like my writing skills still to this day. I can't write a joke, but I can be funny in the moment.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
So it's like your delivery.
It's more like just an attitude. It's not like anything written. When I was doing like MC, I was basically doing an impersonation of me as Dave Letterman. From the Tonight Show, right?
Okay.
I was just basically channeling Dave Letterman the whole time. It wasn't an impersonation. It was, that's who I was emulating in my mind.
Okay.
Not impersonating. Just I
like to go see a lot of stand up. I have a few friends that are comics, and I could totally see that adrenaline rush. I could totally see that feel of just that rush when, especially you're making the crowd laugh.
Oh,
and
it's
they're all laughing at you. That's got to be an amazing experience.
Yeah.
But luckily, I've never been on stage where because I'm not a comic,
Right.
but if you deliver a joke and you hear crickets, and then it's another joke, and it's crickets again,
Right.
So that's something that I haven't experienced, but
I have.
I tremendous respect for stand-up comics.
You just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I only did it like 2 times,
Okay.
in very small audiences, and I was young. But what I learned from the first one was leave on a laugh, right? That's like a comedy rule, especially if you had pre-bombed the night before. So I had kind of the good thing from my experience was they already knew me and liked me doing the MC stuff.
Okay. Oh,
so they were already warmed up to me.
Yeah.
And then I was just doing stuff again with the same audience, right?
Yeah.
So that took a lot of the sting off of it.
Okay.
Even though my stand-up just wasn't written that. I was 19 years old. I didn't know how to write jokes.
Yeah.
I still don't, but I'm also afraid to try. I'm like, ew, I don't want to do just like what you're saying. I mean, I guess I do have a fear of bombing.
Oh, okay.
And I know it's like required. You have to bomb. I mean, it's part of the gig.
Yeah.
It's like
it's funny, even with cycling, I've only fell once, but they say you have to fall. Like you will fall. Yeah. Right. And if you're thinking, fall. I don't want to fall, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
road rash hurts, dude.
I can imagine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I fell off my bike once and got like ginormous road rash all over my leg. Yeah. And I thought the pain was exquisite. That was like the next day, you get that endorphin rush and you don't feel anything for the ride home. I get home, I start drinking lots of beer and
wow. Okay, well that'll help.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Not, but makes the pain go away.
Yeah.
But I woke up the next day and tried to go to work and I'm making breakfast and I lightly brushed the road rash against like something in the kitchen. Yeah. And I literally thought I was going to fall down.
Oh no.
I can't be saying this to you because you get punched all the time. It's your job.
Yeah.
But to a dude that doesn't, get punched for a living, that really hurt. Yeah.
Oh, I have a few friends that also ride motorbikes, right? And especially obviously in LA, that'll help save you with traffic and everything.
Oh, right.
And they say, that's the golden rule there too. Like you're going to fall.
You got to wear leathers.
For me,
though.
I would never riding a motorbike. Maybe if I was in the Caribbean on an island or where there's
not in LA traffic. No.
Yeah, because you could have some jerk that just opens their door and you know what I mean, or just a reckless driver, and that could be your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm not prepared to do that falling wood.
You can't think about it too much when you're cycling though.
Yeah. No, 100% you can't.
You have to be totally. I learned. The first 6 months to a year that I was riding my bike in LA traffic, areas.
Yeah.
With cars.
Okay.
The drivers of cars know you're an idiot and you don't know what you're doing.
Ah, interesting.
And they're very vocal about it, Oh, get the F out of the way. Get the F off the road.
If I had a camera on me in traffic, especially, my biggest pet peeve, I could talk about this for hours about pet peeves, but when there's the cyclists and they're riding in the driving lane, right? Like I understand
in the middle,
to the side, but you're in the middle, like you're not a car.
Yeah,
and on top of that, you're not riding the same speed as the car.
Yeah,
No,
so, get the hell out of the road. Yeah,
I'm so frustrated, and I'm cussing all kind of stuff. And then I remember one time, my window was down, right, and you're just not thinking that this person is hearing you just because you're cussing.
You're in your bubble.
Yeah, and I remember the guy turned back. He's like, "I can hear you." I was like,
that's the best.
Oh shit! Oh yeah, the window is down. Nice, good for you. And I was just like, good for you. Like, way to call me out on that.
So let's talk a little bit about this sleep thing that we talked about when in our show before we started the show.
Oh yeah.
So you were listening to another one of my podcasts with Dr. I can't remember his name now again. Dr. Riker, right?
Yeah.
Riker? Yeah. And we
you know the pronunciation. You do a great impersonation, I must say.
No, I was doing Freud.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry.
Salmi Sebastian Maza, that one. Yeah. It was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. Anyway, so he had said something about wearing a sleep mask, and then you went out and bought one.
Yes.
So let's talk about your experience with your sleep mask.
Yeah, so pretty much I just got it a little while ago. And, in the podcast, they were talking about the importance, again, of dark sleep. I mean,
Right.
not a dark
Yeah,
sleep,
yeah,
sorry, being in a dark room where you get a deeper sleep. And I think you
No
guys were
light.
talking about
Right, yeah.
the length of time sleeping and what's quality sleep, what's not quality sleep. If you sleep for a certain amount of hours with quality sleep, then that's better than a prolonged period with not as high quality, right?
Right.
So I went on Amazon and I saw there's this black sleep mask. It's made of silk. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's easy to wash. So like, okay, cool. So I've been trying it out when I sleep. And the only problem I've been encountering is I drink a lot of water, right? So I drink 2 to 3 gallons a day.
Right.
And especially if it's a late training session in the evening and I have all this water in my system still, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have to use a bathroom.
Sure.
And it's the worst feeling when you feel like you opened your eyes and your body's moving. Mind you, my leg is stepped out of the bed because, mind you, I woke up because I need to use the bathroom. So
you're on your way. You wake up on
you're
your
on
way.
a brisk pace, right? And you're thinking your eyes are open.
Yeah.
But you're like, hold on, huh? Why is it black? What? And you're groggy, you're disoriented too. And oh shoot, the sleep mask. And then you're like flipping this thing up.
So let's hope you haven't run into anything yet.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood right now. I haven't, but
You can see it happening though.
yeah, 100%. And a few times actually, I've fallen asleep. So I get back. So I use the bathroom. I get back in the bed, and because you're so sleepy, you're so tired, I go back to sleep and I don't have the mask on, right?
Oops,
and
right.
then I'll wake up
off.
again to use the bathroom again, and I'm walking. I'm like, and now I'm tripped out because I'm wondering why I'm not seeing black and this and that. So
it's all very trippy for you.
Yes, it's been a process, but I think I'm on the right path now where I got it down pat.
So talk a little bit about this sound generator thingy that you got, because I've been experimenting with different sleep sounds too, driving my wife crazy. She can attest to that. I've been playing like the heater that I told you about, the space heater from the 70s.
Yeah.
And then the rain sound, binaural beats, all the white noise sounds. I like rain, anything that sounds just soothing.
Yeah. So what I did, well, since I was a kid, I would have a fan going on at night. So just as a child growing up, I always had some sort of white noise, right? And another reason for that, to be honest, the reason why with the fan and all this is because, as a kid, you're told, Daniel, be in your room. You're supposed to be in bed at this time. But if that fan is producing some sort of noise, that kind of gave me a little bit of a leeway to get up to some sort of mischief, right? Where I wouldn't get caught necessarily, right?
Because you had like obfuscation noise. Yes. You had a masking noise.
Exactly.
So your shenanigans went unheard. Good for you.
So one thing, so what happened as a child, I got used to falling asleep with this sort of noise, right?
Right.
And I remember it was one of the doctors with the national training, let me repeat that. So I remember one of the doctors with the national team, he was talking about achieving a deeper REM cycle when you're sleeping, right?
Right.
And so I picked up this thing. I'm not at all sponsored by them. It's Brookstone. So it's pretty much a sound generator. It's like a alarm clock, and you have 16 different sounds. So you have 4 different categories. There's relax, sleep, renew, and therapy, right?
Oh, interesting.
So this thing, I take it wherever I go, right? And even in college, I would have off of YouTube, I'd be playing stuff, or I download all these sounds. And I remember teammates in the hotel room, they would just be cussing just because they're like, dude, I don't want to hear a monkey in the middle of the night. there's a
because you got
rainforest
jungle
one.
sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Or there would be like the birds chirping. And I remember in the dorm, these walls were so thin, right? And I remember I would have like a wind down sort of routine before I would go to bed.
Yeah, that's good.
College, right? And I remember when I get out of the shower, I would put it on as I'm applying lotion on my skin, whatever. And they're like, I would hear these guys muttering. Mind you, we're all athletes, so we heckle one another, we banter, and it'd be like, "Oh, great, D. Hayes is falling asleep again. The birds are out," or stuff like that. It was definitely they don't miss that. They definitely don't miss that.
Yeah, my wife will like see. So the other thing that I learned, and I think it might have been after that podcast that you heard about, was that this whole thing about waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
we've been doing that for a long time. It's a completely natural thing.
Okay,
that's not weird at all. I mean, and it's not. I'm not thoroughly convinced that we're waking up because we have to pee. I think we wake up and then we now that we're awake, we know we need to pee.
Okay, let me. Okay,
interject, please.
As a child, good sir, and this is as a child. Okay,
I wet my bed too, so that's okay.
I was so bad.
Bad too.
They used to give me plastic underwear to go to sleep with.
Wow.
Right. So like I remember in the middle of the night, and so that's why just as a kid I became wired. Like the second if I'm feeling that, or just even or maybe I've handicapped myself psychologically, whereas just like the second I feel that, even if it's in my sleep, I go to the bathroom or I wake up.
Right.
Because I had so many experiences as a kid where in the middle of the night my poor mother and I pee the bed and she's wake up and she's cleaning the bed, cussing about it, not being able to sleep. I'm getting the whole lecture of how I thought we were through this when we took off your diapers.
Wow. See, now my parents were so much more cool with me. I feel blessed now.
Oh, okay.
Because when I was going through my thing, wetting the bed too old.
Oh yeah.
They were like, the thing was though, when I was a really little kid, I had the double whammy. I would sleepwalk and then pee places that I wasn't supposed to pee.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that wacky? I actually remember getting up, thinking I'm going to the bathroom and peeing, right? And I'm to the inside of my head, I'm peeing in the bathroom. Right?
Oh my god!
I'm peeing in the toilet, and then my mom comes in and screams bloody murder, and I realize I know why now because I'm peeing in my sock drawer.
Oh. Oh man!
And she's like, and back then there weren't any psychologists, right? So they just freak out and put you back to bed, and it's the same thing, I gotta clean up this mess. So then when it went on too long, I think they were happy I wasn't sleepwalking and I was just peeing the bed.
Okay. That's funny. To even touch on that, one thing I used to do, and I found this out the hard way, was I didn't know I used to talk, and I'm sure I still do.
Talk
I used to talk in my sleep, right? But you see, as a kid, you're not allowed to use swear words, or I would at school, and this is like bullying, not bullying, you name it, right?
Sure.
And I used to cuss a lot as a kid, and my parents didn't know this just because I wasn't allowed to use those words.
Right.
But I would start yelling, and I didn't know it just because this is what they told me because I'm sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And I'd be yelling, cussing, like just profanity. And I remember one time my mom said that she woke up because she thought somebody was breaking in the house because she just hears me cussing, right? And
very violently.
She comes in the room, and obviously I was sleeping. I didn't know what was going on, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's just sleeping. Is this child possessed?" Like,
right.
What is wrong with him? And so I definitely can relate with you. But luckily, I never graduated as sleepwalking because that's a whole different beast.
It is. It was kind of scary, right? For me and for my parents. But just like everything else, you get over it.
Yeah.
You get over. You rub a little dirt on it, it'll go away.
Yeah.
But you also made me think of. Oh man, I listened to too many podcasts a while ago, and when you were talking about waking up swearing, you made me think of this. It was a guest on one of Tim Ferriss's podcasts. I don't remember the dude's name, but he was a really cool guy. He was like a mathematician, and he talked about like consensus reality. Really cool podcast. But one of his creativity rituals was he would swear this long, like really violent, kind of like the George Carlin dirty words cheer.
Okay.
And that was what he used. He would just like spew out these horrific expletives for about 30 seconds to totally disassociate his brain and get him into his creative state. And I was like, that's what I said. I was like, I want to try that.
That is quite. So let me ask you then.
Okay.
Did you try that?
I did. I did. Not before today's show, but I have tried it. Yeah. And all I did was I just did there's this famous George Carlin cheer where he does all these really bad words all in a row in the form of a cheer. So I'm not going to do it because it's really nasty. I've already got an explicit tag all over my my podcast, but I'll do it off the air for you. How's that sound?
Okay, nice.
All right, so let's wrap this up so we can call it a day. We got to get you onto your healing for the weekend, right?
Yes. I have the ice on standby.
There you go. You got to get into that ice bath.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? One thing I've been doing. Have you ever done cryotherapy?
I've heard of it. I've not tried it yet.
Yeah,
it's
so
really
I've been
cool,
doing
right?
that. It's pretty much an ice bath, like a microwave version of it. So I go in for 3 minutes, and
it's over.
Honestly, it's great.
Yeah. And it's like feels super cold, but it's over in 3 minutes.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, to go back to that whole mental thing that we were talking about, if you go in there and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to feel cold, you'll feel cold.
Sure.
If you just go in there and just like, get through it. No, I'm good. Get through it.
Oh,
you'll be surprised.
True. That's so true. The last time I went to Japan, I realized every other trip I was whining to myself a lot. That inner whining about I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to get home.
That's been a death.
Right? And this last trip, and it was last year, I was just like, every time I felt that voice coming, I told myself, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Now I have a beer. Now I have a sandwich. I'm great.
Yeah.
And
that's actually,
and it helped a ton.
Yeah, that's something I've been learning to adapt with, especially with boxing, because it's such an international sport, right? Where you have to travel and you're going to all these foreign places. And for me, it's been learning to adapt with that. So one thing that would start playing that mental game with that negative inner monologue is I started studying the law of attraction, right?
Oh, yeah.
The law of vibration.
Sure.
And honestly, I'm not trying to sound cliche, but just being totally real, that's really worked for me. It's just not harvesting those negative thoughts or emotions. And just honestly, you know what? I got to get through it. This is the situation. I just got to get through it. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. And you can de-woo-woo it because it's not really woo-woo. You're basically programming your subconscious with your self-talk. Instead of your self-talk being on default, which is usually you're an asshole and you're not worth it, just quit and have a beer. That's what everybody's default is, saying the same thing. You have to override that and say, you're better than that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I've learned is the smarter I get, the more creative those negative thoughts become.
So true. It's so you deserve a beer.
Yeah. So
you deserve another tequila shot.
Yeah. Or it's just like, really? So you're saying you can't do that? Right. Then you have yourself questioning yourself within yourself.
Did you just say can't?
Yeah, exactly. If you really knew what goes through my mind, I should have some sort of reality show because it would be hilarious. But that's definitely something.
D Hayes versus D Hayes.
Yeah. What really happens?
There you go. All right, brother. Well, let's cut this off and put a pin in it, and then we'll say you're going to be on the show sometime again because this was a blast.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So you enjoy that hydrotherapy or whatever icing you have planned, and I'll talk again to you soon. And thanks again for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure, man.
All right, brother.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.